UFC 319 took place last night. The middleweight championship was on the line. Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev in the main event. I'm sure most of you know and knew Khamzat Chimaev is your middleweight champion of the USC. We are going to start from the first fight of the night and move all the way up to the main event. I'm going to give my recap for everything that happened last night. If you are here, throw a like, throw a subscribe, and we're going to hop right into it. We got the tough season 33 finale at flyweight between Alibi Adiris and Joseph Morales. Alibi Adiris was a 5-1 favorite in this fight, and I wish I had the cojones to pick Joseph Morales. I had a feeling he was live. It's just the way that Alibi talked, the way he fought through the Ultimate Fighter season. I felt like he could be one of them ones, you know? I had somebody comment on my TikTok saying, Joseph Morales, you don't think he has a shot? And I said, I would not be shocked at all if Joseph Morales wins this fight. I just have an inclination that Alibi might be him. And I should have went with my gut. I didn't. And we start off 0-1 on the picks. But Joseph Morales looked absolutely incredible. He was better everywhere. He's a good fighter, man. I think this guy could potentially have top 15 capabilities. He looked very good, and I was pretty high on Alibi Adiris. You know, he was winning the striking engagements. He was winning the wrestling and grappling exchanges. He was scrambling like an absolute demon. And when it got down to it in the second round, he ended up hurting Alibi to the body on the feet. And ultimately, he rushes, gets the fight to the ground, and finds a submission victory. It was an incredible performance. Joseph Morales is a beast. Alibi Adiris, I don't think this is the last we've seen of him. I think he also has some decent potential as well. But Joseph Morales showed that he belongs here and that he's here to stay. I think it was interesting cut after losing 2 fights, the second of which being to Davison Figueiredo in his first stint with the UFC. But I'm excited to see him back, and I think he might make some serious waves in the flyweight division. Pretty impeccable performance from Joseph Morales. Then we'll move to the second fight of the night. We're already into the controversy. The commentators were watching a different fight than I was watching. At the end of the fight, DC, Rogan, Anik seemed to think Deone Barbosa had beaten Karine Silva 3-0, which would be a 30-27 on all 3 cards. I did not see it that way. I saw Deone Barbosa winning the first round. She was trying to control in rounds 2 and 3. It was kind of a similar story in both rounds 2 and 3. Round 2 was a little bit closer. Karine Silva was getting active off her back. She was trying to threaten submissions. She was landing shots from bottom position while Deone Barbosa was not really doing all that much. And I thought this fight was pretty clear. Karine Silva wins round 2. Round 2 is not as clear as round 3, but round 3, she had multiple submissions that were close. She was landing damaging shots from bottom position, and she had a little bit of her own success in the striking department on the feet as well. I think the judges got it right here. I had a feeling Barbosa was going to get it on the cards, but I believe that Karine Silva won this fight 29-28. Short notice for Deone Barbosa. And she looked good, man. She looked good. Her striking looked solid. Her wrestling was good in the first round. I just think that she wasn't really doing much of anything in rounds 2 and 3. And it was from optics, if she had just done a little bit more, she could have taken both rounds 2 and 3. The commentary seemed to think that solely off of the control alone, it was enough for her to win the fight. She wasn't threatening submissions. She was not really landing any ground and pound from top position. She was clinching a lot. Karine Silva was reversing. They were exchanging against the fence. And this wasn't the most fun fight to watch, but I think Karine Silva definitely edged it out in a deserving win where she had her ranking on the line. Deone Barbosa will be back. I think she's very good. And the commentary was just watching a completely different fight than I was. I just couldn't believe how sure they were. And even after, John Anik's like, oh, she got hosed. She got hosed. Why can we never have, whether it's the judges, whether it's the commentators, we can never have anybody in unison on the scoring criteria? Control over damage or damage over control. We need to figure it out because as far as I'm concerned, damage takes precedent over control. And if you're landing control time with no damage and then the fighter who's being controlled ends up doing more damage over the course of a round, that fighter wins the round. Should be plain and simple, but apparently it's not. Not only the judges are confused, but the commentary is confused as well. Clip that. So we got, and that's 1-1 on the picks, by the way. We picked Karine Silva. She was a confident favorite. Next, we are going to Edson Barbosa and Drakkar Klose. This fight was close. Kind of. Drakkar Klose beat the shit out of Edson Barbosa in round 2. He essentially had him knocked out on the feet. And I don't know if he didn't realize how hurt Edson Barbosa was. Edson Barbosa was literally not there. And Drakkar Klose, in that moment, when he has Barbosa completely compromised out on the feet, he clinches against the cage and gives Edson Barbosa time to recover. I personally thought Edson Barbosa won the first round. He landed some good strikes. Drakkar Klose was getting control in the clinch against the fence. He was landing a bunch of foot stomps, so it makes it look like he was landing more strikes if you're only looking at the stats. But I had Edson Barbosa winning round 1. Drakkar Klose obviously won round 2. And then in the third round, neither guy was doing that much. You'll see on the screen, Drakkar Klose, 147 strikes. Edson Barbosa, 73. Most of those were small clinch strikes, foot stomps, little meaningless shit in the clinch. I thought there was an argument for Edson Barbosa to win this fight, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. We got Drakkar Klose by decision at plus 240. Edson Barbosa was a confident favorite. He did not look like the Edson Barbosa that we are used to. He's back up at 155. I thought it would be a good spot to him to ward off the wrestling. He's a big dude. Drakkar Klose was able to implement that, kind of wrestling, clinch against the cage, and then eventually have striking success on the feet as well. It was an all right win. Neither of these guys are too young. Drakkar Klose isn't bad by any means. I definitely think at most it was Drakkar Klose 29-28 decision with Edson Barbosa having won the first round. But, it is what it is. People were calling me crazy for thinking Edson Barbosa won, that I was being biased. I just was not inspired by Drakkar Klose's performance. And although the damage on Barbosa's face was notable, all of that damage came in the second round. He got the shit beat out of him in the second round, but that is why we have round-by-round scoring. It is what it is. Drakkar Klose wins. We are now 1-2 on picks for the night. And now we are 1-3 on picks on the night. I almost posted a TikTok saying that I was flipping to Alex Hernandez. I had a feeling he was going to catch him on the feet, and that's exactly what happened. Chase Hooper started off all right, using his kicks and his long 1-2 to keep Alex Hernandez at distance. He completely abandoned the kicking game. The takedowns weren't working. He really needs to work on his offensive wrestling because he shines on the ground. And if he's not going to hurt Alex Hernandez and drop him and get the fight to the ground, it wasn't looking like he was going to get it there anyway. Right at the end of the round, Chase Hooper comes sloppily moving forward into Alex Hernandez. Chase Hooper was pressuring Alex Hernandez the entire time, which to me, not the game plan I would have went with as the longer, taller fighter, especially going against a guy with power like Hernandez. So Chase Hooper abandons the kicks, sloppily drives in and gets caught on the button, and he gets put down. A little bit of ground and pound right at the buzzer, and they call the fight. Alex Hernandez wins by knockout. Pretty solid performance from Alex Hernandez. He didn't really have to deal with much adversity at all. He got hit by a couple 1-2s. They were landing for Hooper. The kicks up the middle were landing. Poor game planning from Hooper. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but the young kid just got set back yet again. Alex Hernandez, solid win. 1-3, by the way, on picks. But with this fight, we will move to 2-3 on the picks. Lupi Godinez over Jessica Andrade. Dana White, for some reason, did not give out a fight of the night bonus. I thought that this 100% should have been the fight of the night. It was an absolute banger between these two ladies. Lupi Godinez was having a lot of success in the first 2 rounds, striking on the feet. She wasn't really able to get the takedowns as easily as I thought she would have. I thought she was going to win by being close on the feet and then garnering control time and ground and pound, potentially some submission attempts. But Jessica Andrade, her takedown defense looked great, and she was willing to engage, willing to go into the fire and throw. And it made for a banger. Lupi Godinez, it was a back and forth fight over the course of all 3 rounds. I think Lupi Godinez clearly did the better work in the first 2 rounds. And Jessica Andrade, come round 3, was able to get some serious shots off. She had Lupi hurt. Lupi was bleeding in the 3rd round. And Lupi never stopped, man. Lupi would continue to throw back. And when Jessica Andrade would come in with those blitzes, Lupi Godinez was taking advantage of knees. And it was just a great fight, man. 29-28 for me. I had Jessica Andrade winning the 3rd round. And an absolute banger of a fight, in my opinion. This was a really exciting one, especially between 2 ladies. Lupi Godinez showed that she has some serious skills on the feet when the wrestling isn't there, which we kind of already knew. But Andrade is a very dangerous opponent, and I think this is a good win for Lupi Godinez. Andrade looked great, too. 2-3 on the picks, baby. And then we got McCall, Oleg Jacek, and Gerald Mearshart. Sad to see Mearshart get done like this. He looked worse than I've seen him in some time. Of course, he has over 50 professional fights, and he has taken a significant amount of damage in his career. The pick was McCall, Oleg Jacek for obvious reasons. I did think Gerald Mearshart by submission at plus 440 was an interesting prop, but that being said, you have to go with the younger guy with the striking of McCall, Oleg Jacek, that Polish power. And that's what happened. We got a first-round knockout. Gerald Mearshart was on the ground a few times. McCall, Oleg Jacek very intelligently did not engage on the ground until he knew he had Gerald Mearshart hurt enough to where he could finish the fight. So after he gets knocked down for the second time, I believe it was, he engaged into the ground and pound and was able to finish Gerald Mearshart. I would love for Gerald Mearshart to get one more fight, possibly an easier matchup where he can win. But I think it's probably time to consider retirement for GM3. Absolute dog. And he's won us a lot of money over the years. So shout out Gerald Mearshart. But McCall Oleg Jacek was more primed and ready to go. He is now 2-0 with the Fighting Urds, and it was a good win for the Polishman. Next we have Basingor Susarkayev and Eric Nolan in the middleweight division. Eric Nolan was tough as shit. Susarkayev was being arrogant, a little bit cocky, showing a little bit of showmanship. He was smiling, but he was getting cracked. And Eric Nolan actually had Susarkayev hurt towards the end of the first round. He landed a big shot, and Susarkayev was trying to smile it off, but we could see he was staggered by that. And briefly on the odds, Eric Nolan became a slight favorite at minus 120. So Susarkayev would have been an absolute hammer spot if I was betting heavy. And come round two, Susarkayev ends up landing a shot, a leg kick. It looks like it kind of blew out Nolan's knee. He responded very noticeably to the fans, to the commentators, and to Susarkayev. So he was hurt. Ended up trying to pull a little knee bar and ultimately is submitted by Susarkayev in the second round. I think Eric Nolan made a very good showing of himself. He's a welterweight fighting up at middleweight against a Chechen striker who is a lot bigger than him, and he's tough, man. I like Eric Nolan a lot. Obviously, Susarkayev, he's young. They got to build him up proper because he will get checked if they push him up the rankings too quickly. But I like Susarkayev. I also like Nolan, man. I'm excited to watch Eric Nolan fight again. This kid was a dog, and he was not scared. He ended up getting hurt by a leg kick, fucked up his knee, and then finished. But I like Eric Nolan. So now we are 3-3 on picks. And this one here is a goddamn heartbreaker. If you watch my full card breakdown for this fight, I picked Tim Elliott. I was on Tim Elliott all week. And then come Saturday, I switched sides and I picked Kai Asakura. I posted my full card picks on TikTok and Twitter. And I had a little check mark next to Kai Asakura. Absolutely ridiculous. I should have stuck to my guns. But this is going to give us another L on picks. To be fair, though, in the video, if you only watched that one, you knew I was picking Tim Elliott. He looked great. He's very awkward style. Kai Asakura, he's fast. He throws with power, but he was not able to find Tim Elliott. He was not able to determine any habits or tendencies that Tim Elliott had. He's a very difficult guy to figure out. And even at 38, he went out there and showed that he still has it. Right after the submission victory in the second round, Tim Elliott's on the canvas and he says, "I love this shit." And Tim Elliott does, man. He's willing to throw. He's willing to eat some shots. And he's going to make the fight gritty. He's going to be awkward. He's going to be hard to find. And then if you give him an opportunity to wrestle, he's going to wrestle you. And Kai Asakura at one point landed a pretty flush head kick to the neck of Tim Elliott. And he immediately snatched it up and turned it into a takedown. This is a great win for Tim Elliott. Kai Asakura moves to 0-2 in the UFC. He's just not him. I mean, I've seen people talking about it online. Give Kai Asakura strikers only. Stop giving him grapplers. I mean, obviously his first fight was a title fight, but then he moves to Tim Elliott and he's not able to grapple with a 38-year-old Tim Elliott. Either this guy needs to go back to Ryzen or he needs to be given strikers only from here on out because it is not panning out for him the way that he thought it was. That's a heartbreaker. Next, we got Jared Cannonier and Michael Venom Page. I really wish Michael Venom Page was in the UFC a decade ago. He absolutely loves everything about being here. You know, he's a showman. He's entertaining. He's good on the mic. He got asked one question at the press conference and he made the most of it. You know, even from the face-offs, the weigh-ins, his body language, he absolutely loves to be here. And we love to watch him fight. MVP is a beast, man. pretty much pitching a shutout in the first 2 rounds. Jared Cannonier was having little success in the clinch engagements. Michael Venom Page looked very strong. Obviously, we know Jared Cannonier is strong. You could just look at him and you know how strong he is. But MVP was doing well in the clinch defense, the takedown defense against the cage, and he was able to get off some trips. He made Jared Cannonier fall. He knocked him down with punches. He was looking great, man. He got a little overzealous, or maybe not overzealous, but a little reckless in round 3. He ended up slipping and was controlled for the majority of the round. He was able to mitigate most of the damage. We know Jared Cannonier can provide some pretty heinous ground and pound, but even still, when being controlled and in bottom position, MVP was able to keep himself safe and end up winning a decision on the scorecards, 29-28. Absolutely love watching Michael Venom Page fight. He's one of the funnest guys there is. Even if he's not getting finishes, his style is very entertaining. It's very flashy. And although he's getting older, I'm sure we're still going to have some more exciting fights from him in the future. So good win for Michael Venom Page over a always game Jared Cannonier. And now this one. Ooh, God, we knew Carlos Prates was going to put Jeff Neal out. I've never been high on Jeff Neal. I'm not a hater, but like a lot of people talk about how amazing he is, and I just have never understood it. This was an insane spinning elbow, buzzer beater knockout. It was very violent, very brutal. I feel sad for Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's game. He was out there trying to find a knockout. He said this fight was ending in the first round. Unfortunately for him, he was the one that got finished. But Carlos Prates with another bonus, another highlight reel knockout. You know, there's not really much to say. He was able to, utilize good head movement. He was able to eat a couple shots, not very many of them, but what Jeff Neal had for him was not enough. And Carlos Prates landed an absolutely sick spinning back elbow knockout as the buzzer rang. It was crazy. It had me worrying for Jeff Neal's health. That thing, the sound that it made bouncing off Jeff Neal's head. Yeah, this was a stellar knockout. And then we move to the co-main of the night. Lerone Murphy, favorite underdog of the week. Aaron Pico in his UFC debut, getting a 16-0, undefeated, 8-0 in the UFC, ranked contender in Lerone Murphy. This one felt easy all week, and at first, early in the week, I was leaning decision, but I was thinking about it. Aaron Pico throws caution to the wind. He's been knocked out 3 times, although one of them was an injury. He's been TKO'd 2 times, and Lerone Murphy's tactical, man. And if you blitz him aggressively, it might not end well for you. And we saw that here. This is the second spinning back elbow knockout in a row on this card. It was awesome. I feel bad for Aaron Pico. I like Aaron Pico a lot. The UFC was really trying to do Lerone Murphy dirty here. They were like, oh no, we can use Aaron Pico to get Lerone Murphy up out the way because he only wins by decision. We'll have Aaron Pico take that number 6 spot. Now we get a new exciting contender in the division. A lot of people were saying Aaron Pico was winning that fight. From what I was looking at, it felt like Lerone Murphy was in control. He was dealing with the pressure. He was dealing with the blitz. And he was timing that little short elbow. And I told my buddy when we were watching that fight, I said, Aaron Pico needs to watch out for that elbow because he's going to get put to sleep. And we ended up taking Lerone Murphy by knockout at plus 600, cashed, sweat-free. I did call the elbow knockout. I saw him setting it up and I saw it getting close. I did not think it was going to be a spinning elbow the way that it happened. I thought it was going to be just a short elbow catching Aaron Pico when he tries to close the distance with his boxing. So it was an incredible win for Lerone Murphy, a much-needed finish, and I think he may have earned himself a title shot. He really put his neck out on the line for this one, fighting a debuting, dangerous, explosive fighter like Aaron Pico, and he really showed out. So amazing win for Lerone Murphy. I thought it was a beautiful performance. He dealt with the pressure and completely folded him. I hope Aaron Pico's all right too, though. I like Aaron Pico a lot. And then here we got Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. Dominant performance from Khamzat. He ends up winning on the cards, 50-44. And he pretty much just nullified any offense that Dricus Du Plessis would have been able to offer. He wrestled. Obviously, you see 529 strikes. I mean, if you watch the fight, it wasn't very much significant damage happening. Dricus Du Plessis could not defend the takedown. He was not able to get back to his feet. Pretty much just got controlled for the entire fight. 25 minutes of wrestling control and multiple crucifix positions. Very little damage, all things considered. It was dominant, but as you may have seen, I dropped a video. Do MMA fans think Khamzat is boring? My answer was no, but this performance was underwhelming, and I think we did not see a finishing instinct that we usually see from Khamzat Chimaev. I think he could have taken a couple more risks, but nonetheless, he is your new middleweight champion, and Dricus du Plessis will be back. I'm sure of it. He's going to need to work on that wrestling for certain. He had good submission defense. To be fair, Khamzat Chimaev wasn't really threatening all too many submissions, but Khamzat Chimaev goes out there and yeah, he won, and it was dominant, that's for sure. But it wasn't the most fun fight to watch, especially after the co-main and the featured bout ended in such spectacular fashion. Khamzat Chimaev is your new middleweight champion. We have a very stacked middleweight division. 2 weeks from now, Kyle Baralho is taking on Nasruddin Imavov for a number one contender bout, title eliminator. And then, of course, in the wings, we have Anthony Hernandez, RDR. There's a lot going on in middleweight right now. I'm very excited for the future. Of course, we still have Dricus du Plessis. He's going to be looking to get back into the title picture as well. Overall, it was a banger card. We went 7-5 on picks. It should have been 8-4 on picks, but I, at the very last second, switched my Tim Elliott pick to Kai Asakura. No idea why, but we did. So it is what it is. Good card. I'm excited for what's to come in the middleweight division. I want to see Khamzat Chimaev get back to his finishing ways. I want to see him take a couple more risks and get back into the good graces of the fight fans. This is a great card. I will be dropping my Dana White Contender Series picks tomorrow night, and then full card picks for the UFC Zhang Minyang, Johnny Walker event on Tuesday. Look out for that. If you're here, like and subscribe. Share it with your friends if you like all things fights, films, and video games. Mike Talks. Let's get it.